To Stocks to Watch, where we speak with business leaders to bring you detailed insights about promising companies and help you make informed investment decisions. I am Munir Barazi, your business analyst and host, and today I'm speaking with Chris Frostad, the president and CEO of Purepoint Uranium, a prominent uranium exploration company operating in the Athabasca Basin. Today, we would like to learn more about their upcoming exploration program on their Hook Lake property. The company is publicly traded on the TSX Venture Exchange as PTU and on the OTCQB as PTUUF. Chris, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, Munir. Good to be here.
You're quite welcome. The Hook Lake project, one of your key assets within the Athabasca Basin, encompasses 9 claims spanning more than 28,000 hectares in the basin's southern west region. You have recently initiated your drilling efforts on your property, leveraging the momentum from last year's significant discovery at the Carter's Corridor. Could you elaborate on this discovery and its role in shaping the current drilling initiative?
Sure. Hook Lake is a project on the western side of Saskatchewan. It's sort of the opposite side from where we've seen all the mines historically, but there's been a lot of action there in the last 10 years. NextGen Fission have all identified about 350 million pounds right next door of uranium. So it's been quite an active area, and there's a lot more activity that's been going on of late. That particular project is a joint venture that we have with Cameco and Orano, two of the largest uranium suppliers in the world, and we're the operator on that project. So we've been working with them for over a decade now on that particular project. And as we start to work through it, it is a fairly sizable project, as you pointed out. And this year we're now drilling even as we speak, following up on a lot of the activity and a lot of the information that we've been garnering up over the years, and in particular last winter's drill program. We are the activities primarily that area. There are 3 particular trends that people have been exploring along, and the Patterson Lake corridor is the one primary corridor. We're actually operating just to the west of there, along a corridor known as the Carter Corridor, which is closer to the source of where the uranium in the area would have come from, and where we're starting to see significant opportunity. I guess I should back up a bit. When we talk about following up, we are looking at the entire exploration process out there really begins with a lot of geophysics and a lot of trying to identify where, in fact, uranium might be deposited, because you really can't pick it up in any other way. It's quite deep and it's quite elusive. So through that, we're looking at rock type, we're looking at structure, we're looking at things that might direct us towards a particular area. That's before we even started drilling, and we've certainly completed all of that work out at Hook Lake. Last year, we really started in earnest a drill program along the Carter Corridor, and at that point, what you were looking for are other clues, if you will, of a mineralization event. And when I say that, I mean, uranium is mobilized through a lot of excessive heat and oxygen, and it adjusts the rock. You can tell where that sort of an event has wandered through the area. So as we're drilling, we're looking for things like alteration. So we're looking where that event has actually altered the rock and turned it almost to clay. That's a good sign that you're in the right district. We're looking for other indicator elements like boron. Boron seems to be a real attractive aspect when you get close to these deposits as well. And of course, we're obviously looking for uranium, because as this stuff is mobilized, nothing attracts uranium like more uranium. So any sort of uranium indications are a very positive sign. We've last winter we started drilling systematically through that area. We've got kilometers of target area that we have to test, and it was near the end of that session that we started to come into the radiation, the uranium that we like to see, and of course lots and lots of this alteration and boron and indications that there had been a mineralization event through that region, and that provides us with more information to vector off of. So we're drilling right now, following up, heading further to the north. chasing that uranium that we saw last time around, and we'll see what this program brings us.
Yeah, you were able to find many of those indicators, as you mentioned, and currently your work continues on, for example, hole CRT 2305. Could you share insights into the findings from the past year's work? I mean, you've already touched on that, and
Sure.
perhaps tell us more about the work that remains to be done.
Well, as you come into these areas where you start to see those indications that you're stepping into an area where there's potentially been quite a significant event, then you have to learn a little bit more. One drill hole is not going to tell you the whole story. So typically, when we come into something like that, you have to drill 2, even 3 holes, so that you can start to line things up and see actually where the structures are, where the rock types change. And once you've got a couple of holes there, you can start to draw lines, if you will, between them, and it'll send you in a different direction. So we've been drilling just to the north of that particular hole last year, the one that you mentioned, and we will continue up that area, and it'll take us where it'll take us. But it's a great new open area, and has a lot of promise.
Yeah, and it's not the only hole you're focusing on right now. You have 5 other holes in your drilling program, specifically within the Carter's corridor. Could you give us more detail about the process of identifying those drilling holes and their significance?
Well, these are, I mean, we're talking about 5 holes in general, not just, I mean, those are the holes that we will be using to follow up on. So, again, we're looking at particular target areas. It's a long stretch of many kilometers of target area. And what we are looking for again is some complexity in that structure that we follow, where there are bends, where there might be pockets that have opened up to allow for deposition, and those are the things we're targeting. So, now that we're coming into those indications that there's an event in the area, we continue to move to the north, and we'll be strategically placing those 5 holes along that corridor to identify where where the most activity may well be.
The drilling will commence, and you will collect samples and perform your assay testing. Can you give us any details about the timeline?
Sure. Well, we are right now. Our partners actually this week, Cameco and Orano, their teams of geologists and geophysicists are up at camp, looking at some of the early holes that we've drilled this session, and going through that work. One of the real positive aspects of drilling for uranium is that you can plan it as you go along, and that is to say, we may have preliminarily set out where we want to drill 5 holes, but at the end of each hole, we can send a probe down that hole, a Geiger counter, if you will, or scintillometer, and estimate fairly accurately what the assays will look like. And from that information, and from looking at the core and looking at the structure, we'll actually plot that next hole in the most advantageous way. So it isn't necessarily a factor of mapping out 5 holes and drilling 5 holes and waiting to see what comes back. We have a pretty good indication after each hole as to which direction things are going, and we can change our plans along the way. So these we expect to be done this program probably around the closer to the end of March. But assays will then be pending after that. We obviously have to go through all of this information and data with our partners before we release anything. And news should be out, though, near the end of the winter or very early spring.
Very promising. And there is a 43101 report on this property. Could you summarize this report for our viewers who are not yet familiar with its details? And also tell us why you're excited about the potential for expansion.
Well, this area, I mean, the technical report that you mentioned that we've published really does give the whole history of all the work we've done, and all the history even before we got our hands on it. So it is a fairly complete and comprehensive package of all the work that's been done on Hook Lake, and tells you kind of where we are and where we see the next step. So it's a lot more detailed than our typical press release, if you will. But that entire area over the last 5, 6, 7 years has really burst out. No one was really doing a whole lot of work over there until around the time when we started working over there. And companies like Fission, companies like NextGen, and ourselves have really started to find a significant amount of high-grade uranium in that area, and it's attracted a lot more exploration as well. So that whole area has really lit up as a new source of uranium in northern Saskatchewan in that Athabasca Basin. To date, all of the energy seemed to be put on the eastern side of the basin, along that mine trend where we see all of our big Canadian mines right now. But this has got a lot of promise to be opening up a whole new district for sure.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of underexplored potential right there. My last question, in three short statements, why is Purepoint Uranium now a compelling investment opportunity, especially considering your upcoming program?
Well, well, a couple of things, I guess. We have a fairly extensive portfolio. Hook Lake certainly isn't the only project we're working on this year. We have other projects that are 100% owned, that aren't necessarily joint ventures, that we are going to be drilling and advancing further this year as well. And they have already shown a great deal of promise, a great deal of the indications and indicators that we discussed, and we'll be back there drilling them this year. So that we have a large and advanced portfolio that hopefully is on the edge of a few discoveries. Secondly, is our partnerships with Cameco, with Orano, beyond Hook Lake. We also have a joint venture with them at Smart Lake, which is on the east side, and that's another area that another project that we are going to be advancing more funds towards this year. We're going out to do some geophysical work on that in the next month or so, and getting it ready to drill as well. So those partnerships, I think, justify and validate the work we're doing. As long as they continue to fund these projects, they obviously support them and believe that they have promise as well. And thirdly, I'd have to say it's just the team we've got. We've got people that have touched, seen, and looked at this rock from one end of the province to the other, and know what it looks like, and know how to get there. So that would probably be my third point.
So robust portfolio, capable partners, and also talented and passionate team on the premise. Chris Frostad, the CEO and president of Purepoint Uranium, thank you so much for sharing all of those updates with us. We look forward to hearing more from Purepoint Uranium very soon.
Right. Thank you, Munir.